Good day, televiewers. You're welcome to another edition of Prime on my Media Prime. This evening, we are looking at what youths are supposed to be doing to engage actively in politics and possibly take up leadership position. Is this the time for the young people to seize that opportunity to impose themselves as leaders of today and not necessarily leaders of tomorrow? If time permits, we also are going to be looking at a second topic, finding out what MPs in the Southwest and Northwest regions possibly are doing with their micro grants for the implementation of micro projects in their respective constituencies. We understand the prevailing situation for those who are coming from the Northwest as well as those coming from the Southwest regions of Cameroon. We are discussing this. Two topics which are panelists who are in the house already. Professor Mark Anthony is in the house with us. He is a Pan-Africanist. Good evening and welcome, Prof.
Good evening, Leo, and good evening to my fellow panelists, Nadia, who is here with me today, and the others, and to the hosts of Cameroonians watching at us, as well as those out of this continent, Africa, and around Africa. We believe that the purpose for which we are here is actually to talk for education, not just to discuss. And so we will do our best to offer that.
We're also in the company of Ba Nadia Akwen. She is the youth leader for UPC in Cameroon, as well as a CEO, the CEO of Akwen groups of companies involved in import and export. We're glad to have you, Madam CEO.
Thank you, Mr. Kum. Pleasure having me here once more. Good evening to Mr. Kumbo, my co-panelist. Good evening to all the millions of televiewers of this beautiful platform. Good evening to all the UPC who are scattered around the continental globe. As we all know, the UPC is the first party that existed in Cameroon and fought for the reunification and the independence we are all enjoying today. Without forgetting to salute all the people from Ghana. You know, Mr. Kum, I visited Ghana, which is part of Africa, but I was so impressed by the hospitality of the people of Ghana. These people are well trained, they are well educated, and besides, their civilization and democracy is more advanced than Cameroon. And it's just a statistics to tell you that, you know, most countries that were colonized by British during the period of colonization are more developed than countries that were colonized by France, because they use you know, the indirect rule, which is the best for me, because assimilation is just trying to change someone and trying to force someone, which is dictatorship. And you believe that most countries, Mr. Kum, that were colonized by the French today are facing a lot of problems because of the manner of dictatorship they use in governing these people, known as assimilation. So I salute you guys from Cameroon. I was very well received in Ghana, Accra, Ghana, a beautiful place, developed, and people who are so hospitable. Thank you.
Okay, we also are going to be discussing with Paddy Asanga this evening. Paddy, good evening and welcome. Paddy is not yet connected. Good evening to you, Ngong Walters. Koi, my brother, watching from Boya. Glad to note that you are watching. We fondly call you Koi Man. Hope Mama is getting better out there. We wishing her a speedy recovery. We also are going to be hooking up with Fabrice Elena, who is the Secretary General of the PAP party in Yaoundé. Good evening, Fabrice, and welcome. Fabrice Elena is also not yet connected. Prince Joel Mokage is going to be joining us in the course of this program. Professor Mark Anthony, when you look at the Cameroonian youth and politics, what comes to your mind? Are we really in for it, or we are observers?
Thank you, Mr. Leo, for that particular question. You know, for a very long period of time, the definition for youths in Cameroon has been the one reason why a lot of young people are not practically involved in, let's say, in leadership as well as politics in Cameroon. You hear a minister will tell you that at the age of 80, he is still a youth. and say youthfulness is of the mind. We do not refuse that youthfulness is also of the mind, but there is an age limit that permits an individual to be called a youth from the age, let's say from the age of 12 to the age of 35. You are considered a youth. And when you look at it, in this country, youths have been sold a lie for a very long period of time, where they tell them that the young ones, you youths, you are the leaders of tomorrow. That is a wrong vision. The moment you tell them that you are supposed to be the leader of tomorrow, they postpone their life from now to the future. And that has been a limiting factor, where youths think that if they have to be involved in politics, if they have to be in leadership positions, then they need to wait until when they are in their 60s. Because they think that politics is for the old. But I'm shocked to know that those who are selling this particular ideology to young Cameroonians came into politics when they were young. If you look at those who fought for the independence of this country, those who were in the first leadership, the government of Cameroon from the very beginning, you realize they were youths in their 20s, 30s. But now that they came to power, they refuse to leave the seats where they have been sitting and have been selling a wrong ideology to the young ones that you need to wait, your own time is in the future. And as long as that ideology has been sold, and based also on the kind of way they have made the politics to look like, it scared a lot of young people to feel like getting to politics, they call it, is a dirty game. And so they feel like your heart, you must be a corrupt person before you can do politics. But I say no. Politics is just, when they talk of politics, politics in one way is just a manner of management. The policies that are put in place to run a particular organization or run a country makes up its politics. And I think that every human being is a political being. And therefore you have it in you to become a political personality if you want. And the choice does not come when you are aged. It comes when you are still young. So the decision to become a politician is not supposed to come when you must have might be gone on retirement, or might be when you think that you have crossed your 50s, or might be when you are in your 50s before you can say, okay, no, I think now is the time to join politics. That was a lie that was sold to us. And I think that if we can take back our destinies into our hands, then you can make the difference. I am encouraging youth, don't wait for tomorrow. For tomorrow is now.
Okay.
You can decide it now.
Tomorrow is now. There is no tomorrow for young people. Barakwen, Nadia, you are reading also is that youth for a very long time in Cameroon have been playing the observer role.
Well, Mr. Com, it's very important for us to first of all define what we call politics.
Okay.
When we talk of politics, politics is it's a lifestyle. It's an ideology, it's a vision. It's something you're trying to impose. But I tell you, everyone on earth is a politician, and we have active politicians and passive politicians. But Cameroon or worldwide, let's come back to Africa. Cameroonian youths are not active in politics. They are passive politicians. Why? Because when we look at the way things are going on, maybe during an election, most people who go out in the field to do propaganda and all the things are the youths. But when it comes to decision makings, they are the old who are being presented. That is what we call active politics and passive politics. It is because the old who are there, they have destroyed the meaning of politics, because they say when you want to kill a dog, you give it a bad name. They have turned politics as a dirty game. They have called politics that you cannot be a politician with clean hands. Politics is a dirty game. They have named this politics in order to scare away youth to get more involved. And Mr. Kum, politicians worldwide control the world. Politicians, they call the shots worldwide. That is why you will see most of these people, the old people who are there, they know that before you become someone in life or become, you know, a big person in a country, you must get involved into politics. That is why they have demonized politics, so that the youth will be scared away and not get active. Because politicians, they call the shots, they bring out the laws, and they give out the way people are living. They decide on the lives of a whole nation. And that is why you see youth are not involved, because they have demonized politics. They have given it bad names. They have made youth to be scared. This, and besides, Mr. Kum, you will notice that in Cameroon, to do politics, you need money. Most youths don't have money to do the politics. That is why you are scared to get involved into politics. And most people who are in politics are they that have money, the old people. And besides, if we go back to our ancient tradition, when a kingdom is trying to, like a father who has grown old, he will initiate his child to know what he has been doing, prepare the leaders. But in Cameroon today, those that are sitting high there, they do not want to teach us. They give us name, they insult us, they tell us we are not able. Meanwhile, we are able. And we cannot cheat nature, because nature and science has proven that once you have crossed a certain age, you do not have your senses normally. That is why you will notice Cameroon is not functioning normally, because they that are leading us are not normal. It is natural. We are not insulting them. We cannot fight nature, Mr. Kum. That is why you see Cameroon and its political way, economically, socially, and even financially, nothing is going right, because the leaders are no longer scientifically able to take care of Cameroon.
Do you want them to give you power?
You know, Mr. Kum, power is not given, it's seized.
So what stops you from seizing the power?
What stops us from seizing the power? Because the system in place has closed every door for the youth to have a chance to even show forth.
But you are into politics.
Mr. Kum, I'm into politics, and it is rare. If we go statistically, youth that are in politics are rare. We can count them.
Okay. Padia Sanga, good evening and welcome. Hello, Paddy, good evening. We're glad to have you. Paddy, good evening. Okay, Paddy is not there. You say that opportunities are not given to the youth, and that politics has been demonized. But if young people know that politics has been given a bad name by those who are there because they want to deter them from engaging, what stops them from understanding that this is a game they all are playing, and that is they should mobilize themselves and seize power?
Mr. Leo, I think already youths are getting to that place. You see, the level of voter apathy in Cameroon actually explains to you the understanding of young people when it comes to politics. But recently, the dimension and level of mobilization of youths is making a difference. The way young people are getting involved in the politics. We are now talking, look at Nadia sitting with us here. She is involved in politics. And she is a leader in one of the parties in Cameroon. She's a youth. You look, we have Lena Fabrice, who is one of our panelists. He is a youth. And there are many of them who are now getting fully involved in this issue. I think Cabral Libi took the bull by the horns, and today he's an MP. He has young people whom, through his party, have gotten employment, and some of them are involved into politics. Look at Noran. Noran is now an MP.
Actually.
Look at other young people whom he has brought in and has permitted them to be working. Some of them are mayors,
a lot.
municipal councillors. So that makes you to see that these young people are beginning to pick up. And so I think and I believe that before it is 2025, we'll have a lot of youths who would have been involved in this. And I think that the reason why some of them are still scared is because of the ignorance that is attached to it. Somebody needs to talk to them. And there is need for a greater dimension of mobilization in order to present the right thoughts to these youth. Because if they are educated, on the importance of participating in politics, you will see a difference that will be made. I have seen in other nations how youth stepped up and made a difference. I think in Cameroon, we can make that difference if the youth step up. See, in Cameroon, if you look at the age limit, in fact, the range, statistically, you discover that about 60, Cameroon is made up of about 60% youth. Yeah. If Cameroon is made up of about 60% youth, what is happening? That when there is an election, the youth are not participating, which implies that they have the power to go out and take this particular leadership positions that they want in any political party of their choice. The question is, why not mobilize in a particular party as youth and say, okay, we are facing to change tomorrow. This is the party for change. As youth, we come together and decide to say, okay, we are making that change. That is something that I am expecting to see before 2025. And now is the time. We are already in 2022. If we have to sit and wait, that might be when it is 2025, we can now start, or say 2024, we will be making an error. So I think youth need to get it now. It is time for us to rise up. And let me say this, politics is not a dirty game. Never.
Okay, politics is not
a dirty game.
Is Paddy Asanga there now? Good evening and welcome, Paddy.
Paddy is struggling.
Hello, is Paddy Asanga there? Seemingly is still not there, as well as Fabrice Lena from Yaoundé. But we have just been joined by Prince Joel Bokage. He's been away for some time. We are glad he's back. Good evening and welcome, Prince.
Good evening to you, Mr. Liu. Good evening to co-panelists. Good evening to the million telespectators of my Media Prime, and particularly to the program Prime R. Like you said, it's been a while that I've been on board. But it's a privilege being here again today. I want to use this singular opportunity to send out a special good evening to the peace-loving people of Nsah subdivision, the land of milk and honey where I come from, and most particularly to His Royal Highness von Fuma Thomas Kembose, and to all those who come from the royal family.
Yes. Can we understand why many persons think that young people are passive to some extent when it comes to politics? It's been demonized, and but the youth are the ones complaining every day.
The issue is, Mr. Lupe, let me first of all congratulate you for the topic. The issue is we are living in a country where being a youth, first of all, is a problem. Okay. Why? Because it's a problem because when I look at politics and the few youths who want to dare into politics, I just feel that it's to an extent animating the gallery. It's okay. Animating the gallery because the system is programmed in such a way that if you are not that elderly, yeah, because once you're young and you want to join politics, one thing they believe is that you're still young, you need to learn. And learning takes a lot of time. So I think that youths in Cameroon, first of all, it's difficult for them to take the mantle of command. First of all, because of the financial aspect. The financial aspect, Mr. Leo, politics in Cameroon is done in such a way that those who go to the ballot box, those who drop, depending, they look for who is the highest payer. That's the first aspect. The second aspect is the fact that elections and politics in Cameroon is managed by big guns. So much such that even the few persons who have managed to succeed youths, before I entered, I was listening to Prof. Mark Anthony cite people like Abra Libby and Norwan who succeeded. Congratulations to them. But we want to believe that a few persons who are not maybe part of his political party, who have struggled in politics, we've seen them folded up. There are political parties that have come up. Each year there is a presidential elections. Cameroon has 300 and plus parties. But in the field, you ask yourself, and some of these parties are run by youths. But now, on a daily basis or daily, you want to ask yourself, what are they doing? Do they actually do anything on the field? No, because the financial aspect is not there. The second thing is that, Mr. Liu, we are living in a political terrain in the country whereby the administration is seemingly under the ruling party. So much such that anything you want to do of the opposition, you discover that it becomes very difficult because the administration will make everything possible to see that that thing doesn't succeed. We want to remember that here in Douala and as well as other parts in Cameroon, each time an opposition political party wants to organize a rally, we know what happens. They will say that they didn't ask for authorization. So I think that, Mr. Liu, the few youths who have struggled to go into the game of politics, like the Njang Venis of the PAP, like the Prince Ekos of the USDP, and the host of others, we know the truth, we know the reality. Because Cameroon has 360 subdivisions, Mr. Liu. Now, you want to ask yourself that, should a political party, though run by youth, should that party limit itself to Buea, in Douala and Yaoundé? A political party should cut across all the different subdivisions of the country. It becomes difficult. Why? Because the few youths who have the willingness to do politics, for instance, let me give the case of Mr. J. The few youths who want to do politics, they want to do politics. But now, there is somebody who is elderly in that part or in a subdivision who determines how affairs are run. So I think that the youths have the willingness to do the politics, but the terrain is such that to succeed as a youth in politics, except you have another source of income, it's very good for youths to do politics. But looking at the political terrain in Cameroon, it is not favorable for youths. That is why, if you look even within the ruling CPDM, you will agree with me, Mr. Liu, that it takes a long time. Even those who enter the ruling CPDM, when you enter as a young man, they only discover you when maybe you're a parliamentarian. But little do people know that before you even become a parliamentarian, or say a mayor, you had done on the groundwork for say 10 years, 8 years or 15 years, but people only discover you when you're already mature. So I think that it takes a lot of time, and it also needs the financial aspect in order to grow.
It takes a lot of time for a young Cameroonian to emerge in politics. Paddy Asanga, good evening and welcome.
Yes, Leo, good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can get you. Paddy, what can we say is responsible for what we are observing, very passive youths in Cameroon's politics?
Leo, the environment of young people in Cameroon politics, and you heard Mr. Bia told you sometime that la politique aux politiciens et l'école aux écoliers. That is to say, politics for politicians and school for students should go to school, something like that. But we want to understand that Mr. Bia himself is not a born politician. Mr. Bia is an administrator, and most administrators or politicians today, they are not that they don't see politics as not their job. They feel entitled. And when they get to the political position, they tend to hang on to the extent that you have an MP, somebody living in the same locality his whole life. Somebody like Kabayi Ejbil, he has been a president of the National Assembly and an MP from his constituency for 10 years. That's that spirit of entitlement that discourages people. And what most franchises teach is that these people, politics is tied to money, whereas politics is to come and manage the affairs of the city, not to come and enrich yourself. But in the context of Cameroon, that has helped disenfranchised youth, politicians has made it very difficult, so much so that the youth will have to think that, no, if I want to be a municipal councillor, I should have $10 million I will bribe vote. That's not true. That's not true. And we have to take away this way of thinking from the mind of our young boys and girls so that they understand exactly what politics means in other Western countries. You know, we still have the same political elite who are since independence. It has not changed with a few amendments right center, but we have to go back to the drawing board, because these people who we are talking today, calling them political elite, when they came in politicians, some of them were even older than myself, older than most of them. Ahito at what age did he start politics? John Bukuncha at what age? Tandemuna at what age? Paul Bia at what age? Frundi at what age? And so on and so forth. The list is quite long. And when they came, did they come in because they had money? No. The only advantage they had at the time was that our people were a little bit less educated about politics, and they took advantage of the system and sat on it for a very long time. So it's time for us to empower our youth and give them that mandate to go back and prove that they are more educated than most of these people that are citing now. By the time they became politicians and ends, as you want to do.
Okay, thank you, Paddy. Fabrice, Lena, good evening and welcome.
Thank you very much, Mr. Liu. Thank you for choosing this wonderful topic. I want to greet my co-panelists. I want to greet Mr. Paddy. I want to greet Joy Prince. It's been a while. I want to greet Professor Mark Anthony and also Ba Akwen. I want to say that it's really interesting. It's really a good thing for us to talk about politics, which is the discipline that cuts across all other sectors of a country, of an economy, of a society. I will say that Cameroon political issues or politics in the state, it's viewed in manifold aspects, in different dimensions. But as far as youth are concerned, I will say over time, youth have been discouraged because of the attitude of elites that actually were bestowed as the independent leaders of this country throughout the years, to the period of multipartyism, right up to the period of struggle to establish competitive politics, till the moment that we are having now with the challenging socio-political issues and numerous crises left and right. Notwithstanding, youth are still very engaged. To say that Cameroonian youth are not engaged in politics will be an overstatement, and to also say that youth are not taking their challenges will mean that we are not appreciating enough the efforts of young people like myself, who at a very young age decided to take the mantle of leadership in the Popular Action Party, like my brother T. Jodone in the SDF, who decided at a young age to engage in politics, like Kwajika Bless in PCRN, who decided to take up leadership, like Ba Akwen, like so many other young people, Modest Green, like Kotia Prince. We have so many young people, both in the background of English speaking and French speaking, that is struggling to dare the narrative. The terrain is of politics itself, like one professor said, it is an area where when you choose to start doing it at a young age, when you have not yet stabilized your life, you have decided to sacrifice yourself for the society. And there is this misconception that people have about politics, which is going to enrich yourself, forgetting to know that the human sacrifice, the intellectual sacrifice, and just the concern for the society, which makes your belief and vision and ideology for a collective interest to supersede your individual interest, is already something that people are supposed to applaud you for, people are supposed to appreciate you for, people are supposed to empower you for, people are supposed to take you forward for. Mr. Liu, I can tell you, and Cameroonians who are listening to your program, that in other countries that I have fellow young people who are engaged in politics like myself, they are being empowered by the elite, they are being empowered by those who do not have that capacity, do not have that courage, do not have the interest or the zeal or maybe those endowed resources which will permit them to take the front line of leading, of being into politics. So I would say that Cameroonian youths are doing a lot. Cameroonian youths are doing enough. Politics is for the youth. I always encourage that if the youth of Cameroon succeed at one point in time to bond themselves around an ideology not dependent on the multiplicity of political parties that is defining us, we will be the one, in collaboration with our women and mothers, we will be the one to make the ultimate discussion. So, Mr. Lilo, I will come subsequent the topic again, but I will encourage to all the youth who are taking part into politics.
Okay, thank you, Fabrice. Lena, we'll be coming back to you. The connection is not too clear, reason why we did not get you on the screen. But, Ba Akwe. Hello? Okay, Ba Akwen, one of the worries raised by many persons is that some of the young people who have been given duty positions, leadership positions, have not also excelled. How responsible, how ready the youth for this leadership position?
Well, Mr. Com, the question is a bit funny for me because I cannot dictate any youth in Cameroon that has been given the opportunity to lead and hasn't produced results.
Okay.
Kabrali B, we can name them, Samuel Ito. These are youths that came out and they are doing great jobs. We have Noran Futin, who is a young parliamentarian, and she has been doing a lot of things. So Cameroonian youth who have been given the opportunity, who have excelled in politics, are doing the job.
Okay.
The problem is the people who are there, they that have been there before us, like our predecessors, they are not making the conditions favorable for these youths to do their jobs. Once you start doing your job normally, they will tell you, they will say you are heady, they will say, okay, you want to fight them, they will tell you there is a system, there is a rule, there is a way we do our things. They will say you want to move against what they have placed. These are the difficulties a lot of youths are facing. People like us who have come into political parties and they have given us the opportunity. Once you want to air out a fresh light, once you want to bring out something new, because I believe, Mr. Kum, as statistics prove, Cameroon has more than 70%, which are the youths, and I believe that it is only a youth who can determine or touch to the core the problems of the youth. But when we look at the leadership today in Cameroon, it has been ruled by the old. Look at what happened at the National Assembly recently with the elections of the president. Kavayege Jibril has been there since 30 years. We have a lot of youth at the National Assembly that can take that position and do great things. We have Nyat Jifenji, he has been there at the Senate. President Paul Biya came to power when he was still very young. But today, they tell us that youths don't have the capacity. They tell us that youths are not schooled enough. They say youths do not have that mind. And in French, they say, une jeunesse tête baissée. They have given us all names. They say, when you want to kill a dog, you give it a bad name. Mr. Kum, youths in Cameroon are determined. Youths in Cameroon want to do something, but the conditions are not favorable. Our predecessors do not want to give us the opportunity. They will keep telling you, my dear, you are still very young. We are the ones who are here today. We are going to die. Meanwhile, when we were young, they told us that you are the leaders of tomorrow. Until date, Mr. Kum, tomorrow has never arrived. I am still there, waiting for that father to tell me that I am the leader of today. Meanwhile, they came to power when they were very young. Most of those that fought for independence, like in the UPC, most of them were young, Mr. Kum. You cannot cheat nature. You cannot fight against nature. But we see leaders today who are fighting against nature. They have taken money, Mr. Kum, and kept in their pockets. Today, you cannot do politics without money in Cameroon. That was what Pati Asanga was saying. But in those days, politics was not a game of money. Politics is a way of life, is a vision, is something you're bringing out to the table so that people can ameliorate their lives. But today, if you don't have money, you cannot get involved into politics or you cannot lead. And even they that are there that can support you, once somebody tries to support a youth who is promising, the regime in place hits you down, telling you that be careful. That is what is happening in Cameroon. Mr. Kum, the question saying that youths have not delivered, they are delivering. Kabrali B, we have them. Noran, Samuel Eto'o, somebody like me, Nadia, a young president. We are doing great job, Mr. Kum. We are trying to see that the system changes.
Fabrice Lena.
We are so many. Mag Akumbo, they are there. We are doing the job, but the system in place will not allow us to go through because they say they are dying. Let us wait tomorrow. Meanwhile, since we were in the primary school, they said, you are the leaders of tomorrow. And I believe that tomorrow is today. Mr. Kum, we cannot cheat nature. I believe that there is an age limit for people to be called youths. In Cameroon, it is the only country where the old are still at the work side, meanwhile the youth are already in retirement. They will tell you, I'm still very young. I have all my capacities. Yes, you have all your capacities, but you cannot cheat science. You don't function normally. That is why you will notice that the Cameroonian system is not functioning normally, because they that are there are no longer in all their senses. When you say that, they say you are insulting somebody. We are not insulting anybody. We are simply stating the statistics that are on ground, because we want Cameroon, which is a country predominated by youth. Even at the National Assembly, Mr. Kum, the National Assembly is an institution that represents the youth, because they say they represent the people. You are representing a youth. Meanwhile, Cameroon is predominated by the youth. Meanwhile, they are representing us. Why is it that at that National Assembly, youth don't have positions? We have Nyat, Kavaige Jibril, 30, 40 years. The president, 82 years old.
Yeah, but now, there is a problem that comes up. Almost everybody wants the youth to take over. You say you want the youth to take over. But we have seen young candidates who come up. We say the youth, we have, yes, we have majority of the population now. We had Cabral Libi. We have had Serge Matumba.
Yes.
We have had young people. Who is to blame here? Why did all the youths not just rally behind them and put them in power?
Mr. Leo, one of the problems we have in Cameroon is that most youths have been corrupted.
Correct.
And the reason why they are engaged in politics is for what they can get, not what they can give.
Actually.
And as a result of that, their interest is not the people, their interest is their pockets. And so most youths are joining politics for their pockets, not for what they can give. So it has caused a lot of young people to be scared of aligning with an individual. They believe that they will use their force to empower an individual, and the person will make more money for himself and might be neglect them. And that is a situation which we are facing already in Cameroon. And you see, also I want to say this, a lot of young people are scared of involving in politics because of the fixed system. The system is fixed. And as a result of that, they know that if they get involved fully, in one way or the other, everything that they do will count not. Their votes will not count. Excuse me, say in the past elections, it is shocking that we have a country of about 26 million people.
Like, seriously.
And we had just about 2 million something votes.
That went for vote.
What do you think?
Where were the youths?
You see, that is where I'm saying. The youths have gotten discouraged. They are scared because the system, like Padia Sanga also said, if you look at the system, individuals who came into the system as youths.
No, that is the sing-song of the youth. There was an opportunity to say that we no longer want this system that has been existing.
Mr.
Cabral Libi was there.
Can we?
Cabral Libi was there.
Yes.
Serge Matumba was there. Why did all the youths not rally behind them? Because we discovered that those who are carrying the ballot boxes for these other guys are still young people.
Mr. Leo,
yes.
I am sure that I already mentioned the fact, one of their fears, but I want to come to this point.
Yes.
Don't forget this. I will say it without mixing words. I said the system has been fixed. And the playground does not permit, even if there is no amount of votes that Cameroonians will vote that will change the regime in power. And that is one of the discouraging factors.
Are you not playing that exact role of discouraging young people out there? Yeah.
You should let me talk, because you are cutting me from talking, and when you cut me, I might not finish what I'm trying to say. I understand you are queuing me, but you are disrupting my thoughts instead. Listen to what I'm saying, Mr. Leo. It is true, they have gotten so discouraged. But when I come out, my interest is to make youths know. So might be yesterday it did not work. Might be we did not put our forces the way we were supposed to do it. But I am sure if we rally and come out in our numbers, we are going to overthrow the system. Because I am sure the system is made by us. And if we can decide to step out together, we are going to, our numbers will shock the system until the system will not be able to stand. So if we keep on being discouraged because of might be if we vote, our votes not be counted, those are the same reasons why we remain in one position. And these old men keep on mastering the whole place, collecting all the money and putting in their pockets. And some of you are making mistakes. So let's join the stuff. Put our efforts behind one or two individuals.
Who are those who sell the vote? Who are those collecting the 50,000?
Mr. Kum, there is something I wanted to say. You know, the problem is that it's not that youths are scared. The problem is Cameroonians, because as a youth, when you come out, you say you're a politician, the population will ask you, because of the mind which the old people have infiltrated in the minds of Cameroonians. They'll ask you, you don't have money, what are you going to give us to eat, to feed? Now you say Serge Espoir Matomba came up, Kabalibi came up, let the youth rally behind this one person. Where will the money come from to cajole the population? Because Cameroonians are contented in eating and drinking. That's the truth, Mr. Kum. You go to a village as a youth, you don't have money. Vote for me, you have ideas. You have a manifesto that can change Cameroon. Mr. Kum, they'll tell you, on n'est pas là pour comprendre ce que tu dis. Donne-nous à boire et à manger. Because they that are there have made it in such a way that once you don't have money, you cannot excel in politics. They have made it in the minds of the Cameroonian population. Look at what happened with Kabalibi. During the presidential election, he went on his feet and he was begging for money to pay his caution. This is very serious. Cameroonian youth don't have a problem. Serge Espoir Matomba don't have money. Kabalibi don't have money. They cannot queue together because they will do nothing. Because they that have the power, the yam and the knife, the system in place, the money and everything will cajole the population and feed them and they'll vote for them.
Did young people not vote for Professor Maurice Kamto?
Youth voted for Maurice Kamto.
Did young people not vote for President Paul Biya?
Youth voted for President Paul Biya. But Mr. Kum, you need to understand this thing.
Was that not their choice?
Mr. Kum, you need to understand this thing. The problem are not the youths. The problem is the Cameroonian population. It has happened with me. Once you go somewhere, Mr. Cook, you say, I am a politician. They'll ask you, tu as la voiture, tu as l'argent, tu as ceci. Because
is that not the problem of the youth?
It is not the problem of the youth.
Should the youth not go for ideology?
That is why we are saying that youth in Cameroon, they need to be re-educated. And this education cannot come without money. You cannot do politics in Cameroon without money, Mr. Kum.
Yes,
you cannot separate the two.
Very briefly, we have to go over to Paddy. Yes.
Mr. Liu, I think that there is something I said. The first thing is the terrain of politics in Cameroon. When I see youths like Nadia, I like the strength. She has the energy. But the question I always ask myself is, how far will the energy take you? I have a very good friend whom I respect a lot, Nsah Elvis. This is a guy who was the president of UPSU in University of Boy. You know what it means? This is a guy who was the national president of the UNDP.
Yes.
This guy comes to me, Saji, and says, I want to become the parliamentarian. I was with him. I saw the energy in the guy. He had the finances, he had everything. But you want to ask yourself, why did he not go to parliament? There is something about politics in Cameroon that the regime only agrees with you and pushes you ahead. In 2018, when Cabral Libi said he wanted to be president of Cameroon under the party of Professor Mukuvondo, that is Parti Univers, Cameroonians contributed their money. I don't want to call names. People saw a youth and said, okay, this is a guy who can lead us. Cameroonians contributed their money. What became of him? He didn't win. But now, in 2019, Cabral Libi comes up with a political party. We want to know, we want to say that there are people who've gone on private media stations, politicians, and said that Cabral Libi's party, the PCRN, belongs to top government officials. They've said that on TV. So it's just to tell you, Mr. Leo, that the terrain of politics in Cameroon is that which a majority of those who even do the politics, that is those who are even of the opposition, are doing so because they want to use the name of a political party in order to open doors for themselves. I'm saying so because I'm speaking with reality, Mr. Liu. A majority of those who own political parties,
even young people,
I'm saying it authoritative, they should quote me. That those who use, Mr. Liu, what I'm saying is this. When you look at a party, I don't want to even talk about the UPC. The UPC has more than 14 factions. One does not even understand which of the UPCs. That's the truth.
This is because UPC there's democracy in UPC. It's not that
one political party has more than 14.
Of course, because we have freedom of speech.
Within the political party.
Yes, we are not like the CPDM that practice dictatorship. Yes. So democracy is practiced in the UPC. So don't call the UPC.
Is not on this platform.
Mr. Liu, my point is, politics would have succeeded in Cameroon, especially the youth. There is something that Naja made mention of, the fact of hunger. It's not actually hunger. I like saying things, not that some of the youth. Est-ce que tu vas nous donner à boire et à manger?
Yes.
If somebody,
I don't say the youth. I said the
when
population.
somebody asks you to eat, it means there is element of hunger. Because the person had what to eat, the person will ask what to eat. But you know what the problem is? The problem is not there. The problem is that we're living in a country where during presidential and parliamentary as well as municipal elections, there is a list of names that goes to the different persons who come to represent the CPDM within each constituency. And they start telling you, for instance, I've had my name shortlisted and sent to a big gun that this young man speaks against your party. And it becomes in such a way that you too want favor. You too want to come out and speak. You want to become to the opposition. But now the question they're asking themselves is, how long are we going to belong to the opposition before we even come to limelight? When they see those who joined, say, the ruling party, they've not been for 3-4 months, they start winning some more contracts in the quarters. They see those who joined 3-4 months are doing some more businesses, they have tax holidays. Whereas you want to show Prof. Mark Anthony, you're very strong, you're very stubborn, and that you are with the opposition. The day you open a small boutique, they give you a tax that makes you to close up. So I think that the issue here, Mr. Leo, is if at all the political landscape is liberalized, it is true that many persons will say that Cameroon having 300 and plus political parties means that Cameroon is liberalized. But now, is Cameroon really liberalized?
Okay.
Many persons will ask themselves where a party like APA has gone to.
He's there.
It's there.
APA is there.
It's there, but now in the field, because politics, most political parties is what we call, what some people will say that some people have their parties in their
suitcases.
Because we don't see them, and there are political parties, Mr. Leo, that end within Yaoundé and Douala. Political parties should go to the nooks and crannies.
Paddy Asanga, we are talking about Cameroon in 2022. Should we still be blaming the regime and giving excuses about the failures of political parties that are led by young people, when we know that these young people could still rally behind these young candidates to position themselves in power, so that these young presidents could tailor policies that would adequately meet the aspirations of the youth?
Yeah, Leo, can you hear me?
Yes, go on.
Okay. Mr. Leo, we have a very interesting debate tonight, but we are looking at the problem from a very wrong angle.
Okay.
Because we are taking it from top to bottom, whereas we should take it from the bottom to the top.
Yeah.
That is, we should start the grassroots. That is where empowerment starts from. That's where the youth, they gain their energy. You want to understand, because all the debate has been going around the president. The president is only strong when he has his own people. But imagine that the youth, all the municipal councillors are people between 21 years and 35 years in every part of Cameroon. And then they decide to come together. Imagine that we have a majority of people below 45 years in the parliament holding the majority. Mr. Biya will never govern, and the policies will be determined by the youth.
That's what you think.
So if you want to tackle this problem, we should go to the roots of this problem and invest candidates from the root. We should not go and look for people. It's not going to work, because it is a system that has grabbed the country and locked it up for itself. So if you want to go for presidential elections and you start looking for money to campaign left, right, center, no. Let's go for those local elections. Invest young boys who have just come out from the university. I heard people say, Cabral, yes, Cabral is a parliamentarian day, but Cabral, that's his first. Why would somebody who come from the university, very brilliant, very intelligent, not has his first employment as a municipal councillor? Why not? And from there, he grows up and have a program for 10 years. We say, okay, for this time, we are going to start from the roots, and then we focus on one candidate who might take us to a transition to exactly where we want to go to, rather than to start talking about this presidential election, which is most oftenly with giving the Cameroonian context influenced by France. You want to know that foreign powers, the sponsors of political candidates, that one is very, very clear. And if you don't have those conventions, you can't envisage those positions as president or whatsoever. So the problem now relies on us, the youths like Fabrice Lena, like Akwen, like Mukage, like all these other young people that we have been encouraging, Chijo Done, that they should put themselves to go to the field, tell their friends, their brothers from schools, to just left schools. Then we have to go into that. We also have to look for people who are not even academicians. They are bike riders who are very intelligent. They can form themselves as syndicates and then vote for a young man who represent their aspiration in their municipalities. You go to Bayam Selam, you have people who are in their municipalities that will represent their aspiration, that knows their problem, that knows somebody will not leave one day and go to Ajay and start presenting his candidate. No, it should be from bottom up, not from up top. But I look at the angle and that will be getting somewhere. Please take your question again.
Paddy, can you just fix? Can you arrange your collar, please? The collar of your T-shirt, please. Thank you. You are a gentleman. Indeed. Yes, Paddy, my question still stands here. Should we still be blaming politicians? Why don't we rally around our young candidates?
Listen, cats die very hard, and the youth stop the blame game. We should come out with a strategy. You understand? And the truth is that a lot of truths have been said here. I also know what is happening within certain political parties, but I will not want to castigate young people who are taking the bulls by the horn. I am very, very aggressive towards people who are older than myself. Some of them, I'm already an old man, because when Ahijo came to power, how old was he? When Fundi became the chairman of the SDF, he was just about 1 year younger than myself today. So I don't see myself as a youth, but I think that I have enough to guide them, to tell them, to push them forward, give them that impetus that they need for them to take their country and make what they want to make of. I know that they are more intelligent today. They are engineers, they are teachers, they are doctorates, they are doctors, they are medical doctors. So they have the intellectual and moral capacity to rule this country. Let's stop this blame game and saying that we are counting on those old people. Let's empower boys from bottom to top. Start by ravaging all the councillors, all the municipal councils, all the parliamentaries, at least the majority of them, and make that if an old man is take junctions from France, make the parliament, they give him a vote of no confidence and he will not be able to govern. Remember that in the 1990 parliament election, where most of the candidates were under 40 years old, and it was won by the opposition. Somebody switched camp, and that was Dakota just with 11 votes, and that's why we find ourselves today. And one of the reasons that we find ourselves in such a situation is because the boycotted, and we have never recovered that boycott. So the politics of an empty chair should not be any young man today. So that's what the way I would like to answer your question, Mr. Leo.
Okay, Fabrice, Lena, since we're talking about what you guys are facing, how much encouragement are you receiving from the young people around Cameroon? Do they give you much hope, and do they influence you the more? Do they motivate you enough to wanting to do more?
Yes, Mr. Leo. That I would say yes. I think the past 5 years that have been active on the political scene, starting from Secretary General of PAP, Yaoundé 5 Convention, right up to the national executive level. I have met with, I can say, more than 1 million of young Cameroonians at the level of Stand Up for Cameroon, when we were doing Friday in Black program, where I coordinated and registered young people, worked with them, right up to period where we were planning for manifestations, right up to period where we were supporting candidates going for presidential election, right up to post-electoral crisis, I can say I have encountered enthusiastic young Cameroonians who are really, really very passionate, who are encouraging, who are steadfast, who are courageous, who are willing to support. It's true that in the society, everyone must not be a frontliner. There are some people that are basically just militants. There are others who are entrepreneurs that can only support from the background. There are others who are peace crusaders that will just want to pray for you. Meanwhile, others will just be your backbone, like the cycle of people that really make sure everything is right at the level of networking, or the right network for you to ascend into your leadership. I think from the previous conversations, Mr. Liu, a comment that I would like to make is that we have a focus, and the focus here in Cameroon as it stands now is the search for that visionary
Desmond, just 1 minute. Desmond, can you just check? Okay, yes, go on. You are on, please. Just go on.
All right. So I said the focus now is just to... Are you getting me?
Yes, go on.
All right. The focus now is for us to look for that visionary, transformational young leader that will bring out Cameroon from the multiple crises. And this is very simple. It is no more about who is in PAP, who is in PCRN, who is in SDF, who is in CPP, or who is in CPDF. I started this initiative of telling young people that we are all victims of a polarized political society, are all victims. Like, seriously, that at the time I was interested in taking part in politics, I found favor in PAP. Maybe by the time Akwen wanted to get interested, she find favor in the party she is now, and so with the other young people, you know. But that does not mean that we should start generating animosity among ourselves and looking into the lapses and problems of PCRN or UPC or PAP or this and that. No. The focus here as it stands now is for us to look at, okay, who is the most dynamic young person in PCRN or in PAP, or that all of us at that given time, at that decisive moment, that the opportunity, political opportunity will present itself, we will exert and put our support behind for that person to become the president of the republic. Who, at the level of the local election, our strategy and focus here is to look at, okay, who are those young people that first of all buy into the federalist ideology, which all of us can agree that is the political agenda that suits the Cameroon context as of now. Who is that young people that are ready to go into council and become mayors, that are ready to push for a constitutional change to reduce the number of voting age for young people who are already considered major in some aspects of law, but at the level of political rights, they are not. Who are those young people that can increase the rights of women in political participation, that can encourage competitive politics, that are there to exercise, to execute competence and competitive politics, rather than showcasing the power they have in a certain political party. So I think that is the focus. That should be the argument. We are in that search. We have been in a country where for a very long time there have been huge voter apathy, where young people have not sufficiently exercised their rights as citizens of a country, political rights to vote. Because it's simple. Since 1992 till date, we've never had more than 5 million people registered in our electoral
registers
college to vote, and never had more than 3 million people actually voting. What's wrong? You know, Cameroon and Ghana have approximately the same population growth rate. But when you look at the number of people who participated in the last elections in Ghana, there are about 18 million out of between 26 to 30 million people. And Cameroon We are just seeing 3 million. So there is a problem somewhere of people who are not exercising their rights.
Okay.
It's always good to do the right thing before you criticize than to be nonchalant or completely abandoned.
Okay.
That is the call. Our clarion call is for the young people to join hands. There are so many initiatives in the background trying to extend, connect young people of similar vision, be it from the West Cameroon or the East Cameroon, be it from all nooks and crannies, cultural background of Cameroon, the northern zone, southern zone, the grand field, for us to look at identify that energy inside young people that we could bring together. I can tell young people 2025 is remaining 1,086 days, and we have to start working. Anything can surprise us as young people, but if we have not, as young politicians in our different political parties, struggled to put something that is of an impromptu political action by the government, by those who do not care enough about us, what are we going to do? This does not limit itself to people who are out of the parliament. This is identification of people who are in the government, who are in the parliament, who are in the
okay, Fabrice, then we're coming back to you, please. Thank you. Okay, we'll be coming back to you. Good evening, Mr. Kum. It's a very difficult one for youths to take up leadership positions because of the system. Those who come up with political parties make it hard to be in a position. For example, your documents will never go through in a party where the section president is not for you because he is the one to forward your documents. Mr. Henry is writing from Limbe. Show me a politician in this country that is not corrupt, and I will show you a God-fearing prostitute. Politics not dirty game, Nsah. In order to succeed in politics in this generation, you must play it dirty. Gerard, writing from Long Street, that should be in Boya. Wow, good evening, Mr. Kum. Thank you for bringing our young and vibrant, intelligent people this evening. I'm Carlson Benyo, writing from Bafia. Good evening to you, Carlson. This one reads, good evening, Mr. Leo. Please advise some people to talk sense. Okay. Beatrice is writing from Moliko Boya. Almost everybody is talking sense. Okay. Good evening, Mr. Leo. My regards to Madame Akwen, and I want to thank her to be there for us. Courage, my dear. The truth is always bitter. Jeanette is writing from Bafusam. Good evening to you. Jeanette, we're glad to be reading from you. Good evening to you in the studio. We can talk about money and Cameroonian youths exercising voters' apathy from now till the end of time with no solution. The system is fixed to favor followers of the ruling party. So if we practice democracy, should all youths be members of the ruling party in this civilized age? Terence is writing from Mutengene. Good evening to all the panelists. This is Sandra in Douala. Mr. Liu, I'm a good example of a youth who is not into Cameroon politics. I've never owned a voter's card because I know it's useless. Our votes, like Cameroonians, don't count, period. This is okay. Good evening to you. I want to call you Professor Mark. Hello to you guys. I'm Leslie from Bamenda. The problem in Cameroon is the system in power. The system is fixed and voting is not the answer. Voting is will take time. Now, we all listened to Fabrice Lena talk about when he started developing his submission. He talked about that this was the time for young people to look beyond party politics, to look beyond region, look beyond anything. Is that not where the problem actually lies? Because young people from Sanaga Maritime think that they must only vote Cabral Libi. Young people from the north think that if not Mamadou Mota, there's no other person. That is, they mobilize only for their own. Is that not where the problem actually lies?
Mr. Leo, that might be one of the problems because that is the way politics was introduced in Cameroon. I mean, democratic, representative politics as it is right now was introduced in Cameroon, where you favor the person who comes from your region. And that is why when you look at a party like SDF, which was created, in fact, that party was created in Fundi and was actually installed in Bamenda, or launched in Bamenda, but it is called Anglophone Party. In fact, precisely Bamenda Party, because of the mindset of Cameroonians. They have been made to believe that if we don't work in sectarian manner, we will not be successful. So we need to kind of create our different niches and favor those who are coming from our area so that they can best represent us. So they are thinking for themselves. They are not thinking for the entire country. And so if you look at it, this country is divided into tribes. And that is the reason why you hear politicians of reputable, so should I use the word name, go on TV and there's an exchange of where this one is coming from and where that one is coming from. So they bring tribalism into it in order to keep the people constantly in that position of sleep, so that they can keep maneuvering over them and giving them crumbs and keeping them in one position. So it is a problem, a serious problem. But that is not the only reason why Cameroonian youths are found where they are. Like I said earlier, we Cameroonians, you just heard somebody who wrote to you that she had never owned a voter's card.
Okay.
She believes that her vote doesn't count. But I think that that is a wrong mindset also that has been injected into her spirit for a long period of time. When I speak, somebody will say, like somebody wrote on social media that I am deceiving Cameroonians. I am not deceiving young Cameroonians. I believe that there is a possibility for change if we rally, like Lena was also saying. If we come together, if the youth who are the majority citizens of this country decide to unite, like he mentioned, forgetting party lines.
Party discipline.
I don't belong to this party, I don't belong to that party, but I choose a candidate. And we speak for that candidate if he has represented himself, and we now believe that he is able to stand for us. We vote him. I think that change can come. But I know we are also in a country where the system, as I mentioned earlier, is fixed. Even Elekam, as a body, the leader of that particular body, which is supposed to be independent electoral body, is appointed by the president who is from a particular party. Such already creates a situation where there is loyalty given to the boss who appointed you. And so in such a case, we have a problem with the electoral system, and there is a fixing of votes. And we need to clear that part if we have to have a competitive election where individuals will merit what they get. But we know the system, we are not in heaven, we are on earth. And so the systems will never really be perfect. But we can manage to make it look almost like perfect if we work from a perspective of individuals who actually wants to work for the best of the nation. You see, we have decided to carry the so-called idea of party loyalty above national loyalty. We are supposed to be focused on working for the nation, not for the party or not for a tribe.
Actually,
our different tribes and our different parties are the greatest problems we have. The purpose for which multi-partism, or say the many, no, let me not even use the word multi-partism, the multiplication of parties in Cameroon came into existence was to weaken the political terrain and the competitive nature of election in Cameroon.
Yeah, but
and successfully, Mr. Leo.
Yeah, but these parties are created by persons.
Mr. Leo, we do not refuse the fact that they are created by persons. Who are those encouraged? For example, when SDF was.
How do you mean by who are those encouraged? We saw this guy of MRC. He left and created his party. Who encouraged him to do that?
Mr. Leo.
Yes.
Anytime you see smoke, there is a fire. Yes. We might hold on to some words, but anytime you see smoke, there is a fire. I'll be sincere.
They just manipulate.
Mr. Leo, in Cameroon, I would like to use that word that you said, manipulate, because even though we are not robots, but nous sommes le pion.
It means the government is always right, that when there is something, we want to destabilize the nation because there is something somewhere. That's exactly what you are saying.
That's the opposite of what I'm saying.
So the government is always right. That when you do something, there's somebody.
You like to put words in somebody's mouth and then you push the person to say what you want. That's not what I'm saying.
Okay.
I wanted to say something and I held it to speak well and fix it. You took it and held on that one. What I'm saying is this. The whole idea of queuing is disrupting our thoughts. Okay, so listen, what I am trying to put to the people of Cameroon is this. We can't keep on holding and blaming, because I'll be sincere, we will blame and nothing will change. I have shown you the various reasons why we are in this situation in which we find ourselves. But those to change it are not those who are in that power right now. Those to change it are those who will make the decision to step up their game.
Okay.
I'm sure all the youths seated in their houses now, if they decide to go register their name in that voters register, and then come out in their number with time, they can make a big difference.
Okay, Mr. Franklin, I'm sure he works with Azeri cooperative or credit union, something like that. Mr. Franklin says those selling the food are the youths, and that's based on the system that has rendered them poor and useless. Mr. Franklin, you say I hardly read your messages. Many persons write, so yes, I will not. It's not that I have a personal problem with you, Franklin Faziri Credit Union. Good evening to you and to all the members of Azeri Cooperative for Credit Union. Good evening to you, Mr. Liu, and to the panel. Thank you very much for the program. This one says, hi, sir. Good evening to you in the studio. It only takes but the fear of God's grace to enable our country to move properly. I'm McDonald, writing from Sandpit. Sandpit is in Boya. This one says, good evening. Dudu Business is writing from Boya also. Good evening, Mr. Kum. It's D. Maria in Bamenda. I just want to pass my greetings to you all. We are really enjoying your program here. Thank you, D. Maria, and to the other persons with whom you're watching the program. Good evening to you, Mr. Liu, and the other panelists in the studio. The youth need to have a change in mentality. They need to do politics and support people who have good ideologies for the future of Cameroon, and not for people who have something for them to eat and drink now, then continue to suffer in this same regime. I'm Alfred Tamufo, writing from Boya. Good evening, Mr. Kum, enjoying the program. It's Jibril from Menchum. Greetings to Mr. Joel Mokage. Jibril, where are you writing from? Is it from Way, or is it from Isu or Bafmen or Iwum? Good evening, Mr. Kum. Julius is writing from Malinde. Good evening to you and to all of you watching from Malinde. Very, very difficult to read because the messages keep coming. Yes, Nadia, we're talking about young people and their need for support to succeed in politicking. Many of them are discouraged. Some people don't even trust that they can deliver. Some say we cannot make it because it is difficult to penetrate. We saw how stiff it was for Samuel Eto'o to become president. He believed that he could beat the system, and he became this, we can cite the example of Cabral Libi. He may have just gotten discouraged by what is ahead, and then he would never have been the president and MP that he is today alongside others, and they are also making a difference wherever they are.
Yeah, Mr. Kum, you know, like I previously said, that the problem are not the daring youths. The problem is the population, the Cameroonians, the system. We have the system. We have tribalism and party discipline. Why should I say all these things? Because, you know, for you to become a strong politician, you need to have followers. A strong politician who has a name that can come out like a daring youth, you need to have followers. They say politics is the la dictature de la masse. It means what? A politician is supposed to have followers. Now, as a daring youth who comes out with ideas, with, you know, visions that can change Cameroon, you don't have followers, because the followers in place have been cajoled or have been programmed in such a way that because you don't have money, because you are from this region, because you are not in my party, I cannot support you. Because Fabrice Lena said it is high time politicians or youth politicians to go above, you know, party discipline, go above tribalism and all that. It cannot work, because the system in place has already placed every button in such a way that if you are not with us, you cannot excel. If you don't have money, you cannot excel. If you are not in this, you cannot excel. It is so very difficult to say that the daring youth are the problem. No, it is the population. They that do not want to believe. You read a message here, Mr. Kum. Someone saying, I have never had a party, I have never had a voter's card. During the presidential elections, we had a mass turnout of followers at Cabral Libi's place at Stade Marion. You heard what the government came out and said, ils n'ont pas de cartes. They mocked at Cabral Libi because a lot of people say, oh, this guy will win because of the mass. But this mass had no voter's card. It is only the old people who has the voter's card. So it is very, very difficult, because the people on ground, the followers that are supposed to support these daring youth, are not supporting them. One, because the system has kept them hungry. And if you come with food, you control them. That's Cameroonians. You don't have food, you don't have money. Let me tell you, Mr. Kum, it is a bitter truth.
How much food?
Honorable Noran Futin became an MP because she had money. It is not because she had a vision. That's how the system operates. Because you have the money, and because they want to fight somebody else. That's the truth, Mr. Kum.
You are talking of a youth too.
I am talking of a youth. That's what I'm trying to tell you. As a youth.
And you think she did not have a vision?
Mr. Kum, yes. I am telling you, a daring youth in Cameroon who has no money is nothing. A daring youth in Cameroon who has a vision and is not aligned with the CPDM is nothing. A daring youth who has a vision and is not from a particular region is nothing. These are the criteria they use. Cabral Libi didn't have money, but he was being used to fight somebody else. That's a political game in Cameroon. It is not because Cabral Libi was the best or he had money, but because the regime in place wanted to use him to fight somebody. That's a system. That's politics in Cameroon. They that have the vision, they that have the ability to change things and not put at the front. I was in the party years. I cannot deny. I was in the CPRN. That was my first party. I cannot deny. But it is not because the daring youths do not want to come out.
I don't know young people who have more money than Nuran who have not been able to succeed because they feel that there will be no way.
Mr. Kum, I gave out 3 points. I said, 1, the system in place. 2nd, tribalism. And 3rd, the population and party discipline. Once you are from a constituency, I am a Bassa, I am from the Northwest region. Because the system in place needs somebody who will fight against the Bamileke, they choose a Bassa man. That is how it operates. Because the system in place needs someone who has already money, who can cajole people and feed people, they choose you. Because the system in place wants to say that, okay, we have put an Anglophone because the Anglophones are crying. They put somebody, Mr. Kum. We should not blame the daring youths. We should blame the population. We should blame the system. We should blame tribalism that has been infiltrated in the minds of Cameroonians. That is why I'm saying we need to re-educate the few. The base, because a politician is his base. If you don't have a base, you are nothing. That is your base. And the system fears someone who has a base. That is why Fabrice Lena said the youth needs to rally behind a youth. It is possible in Cameroon, but it is very difficult because of all these problems we are facing. That's it.
Okay, difficult to convince the youth because you don't have money, because you are not from a particular tribe. But why not also go to your people and mobilize there.
The thing
Will your
is,
people also reject you?
yeah, Mr. Liu, there is something I want us to understand, that it's very true that for you to win, you need to start from the base. But now we are living in a country where it depends what you have. Mr. Liu, I did make mention of a vibrant youth, Nsah Elvis. This is a guy, if you give Nsah 10 minutes and he talks to 100 people, everybody will buy his idea. But now we're living in a country whereby if you go attend only a rally organized by an opposition party, your name is sent to hierarchy. I mean, your name for going to attend. Not that you even voted. Actually. Now, once votes are done in a particular locality, and they discover, say in the Douala 5 municipality, or say in Moliko, that amongst 100 registered voters, 3 voted against the CPD, and they will know the 3 voted.
Of course, they fish you.
And once those 3 are known, forget it for your family. I'm saying so because we have seen how things are running in this country. I think that we've cited the PCRN, for instance.
Check
when you look
the Facebook page. Some persons are writing that there's no sound. Please, who is there? Person should check. Go on.
Yeah, Mr. Leo, when you look at the Douala 5, for instance, where Noran came out and became a parliamentarian, I think that far from money, like Nadia said, it was maybe owing to the fact that because they even have the assistant mayor, Biong. Yes. Biong is the assistant mayor, the fixed assistant mayor for Douala 5. It's of the PCRN. Now, the logic is simple. The logic is because within Douala 5 is strictly the Bassas and the Bamili case. Now, the Bamili case had Maurice Kamto's order to boycott elections. Voila. Now, because they boycotted, it was majority Bassas who were not voting Noran, neither were they voting Biong. They were voting Cabral Libidiason. Now, so when you look at it, generally, Mr. Leo, when I look at politics, there is something I said before now. When I look at Fabrice Lena, the guy has a lot of energy. I admire him. When I look at Nadia, I admire the energy. But the question I keep asking is, to what extent?
That's to keep.
To what extent? To what extent is that, Mr. Leo?
Maybe the system will use them.
Mr. Leo, yeah, Mr. Leo. To what extent? When I say so is, I have seen young guys. Nsah Elvis is a young man who had more than 5 hospitals in his name.
Oh my God.
I have seen young guys. You know what, Mr. Leo, you and UB. You know what it means to be the president of UPSU.
I know Nsah.
You know very well. Now, Mr. Leo, I'm talking about this country is a country that if you want to be mayor, you don't fall from space to be mayor. You don't. Right. You don't fall from space to be a parliamentarian. It is well calculated.
Yeah, but that is what obtains. Why can we not beat the system?
That is now why the question is. How do you beat the system? No, one, Samuel Etophis. Many people have cited Samuel Etophis like she did, that Etophis is a youth and is excelling. But ask yourself, what did it take for Etophis to beat Ibrahim Boumondjou?
Voila.
It took to an extent violence. We saw Etophis in the speech. Yes. It took violence. Etophis in the fake pass I see. Je vais voir tous les délégats alignés. Because they brought the elections, Cameroon elect, and he said, I'm already seeing fault. And if he allowed elections to conduct elections, Ibrahim would have won. Because we know that he wasn't the chosen candidate of, we know those who were fighting Samuel Etophis. So, Mr. Leo, I feel that
is that not what young people should actually know? That the road is not always going to be easy.
Mr. Leo, the road is not going to be easy. But you can only talk if you have the potentials of people like Samuel Etophis. Cameroonians should know that Samuel Etophis is a friend to Putin.
He's a name.
The president of Russia.
He's a brand.
Okay? Samuel Etophis are friends like the Lionel, big people.
Voila.
Like Infantino. It's not just about Mark Antony going to his village to win. Because when you go back to your community, the big guns in Yaoundé call the Dios. I've watched rallies and campaigns where people are hiding from behind the chair to listen. Why? Because only by going to listen, the Dio gets to call you. Your name goes to Yaoundé. So I just feel that when I look at youth, I appreciate them. When I look at Prince Ekoso, when I look at Jang Dennis, when I look at a host of others who are coming up with this idea of politics, I appreciate them. But the question I keep asking is, to what extent? Because at the end of the day, when they do the final elections, at the ballot box, there is a representative of the administration who is the due. It will be difficult to show me a divisional officer who is not within the ruling CPDM. That political parties organize a campaign, or rather organize a seminar. Like what happened in Douala 4, that was to hold at Royal Palace without publicity for that hotel. That had to train SDF, CRM, and other politicians, and the GEO comes in for Douala 4 and says that the meeting will not hold. But the question is, what of the meetings of the CPDM have ever had an authorization? I just feel that, Mr. Leo, Mr. Leo, I just feel that. What if our youths like Nadia, because Leo, what I'm saying today is the 16th, today is another 18th of April. Most of the young people who are in political parties of the opposition, when we'll be in 2025, they would have changed camps.
Okay.
Mr. Kun, just a short
they would have changed camps.
And be used.
Mr. Leo, this is Cameroon. I've said that most people who brandish themselves of the opposition are using it as a way to sell high. Visibility, thank you for the word. Once you are visible, they say, come. You're now ripe, they put you somewhere.
I hope you are not seeking.
No, Mr. Kum, I'm fighting for the Cameroonians, Mr. Kum.
Nadia, in 2025.
Well, there is a testimony because during the regional elections, I was a candidate in Vuri East. When we went for campaign, I called my dad, my own father. He told me, my daughter cannot come. Cameras have seen me. I'm supporting you. That's the system. That's Cameroon.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a testimony.
Good evening, Mr. Leo. The youth of Cameroon don't have political ideology. They think that using force is the best way. That is why the Northwest and Southwest youths are very easy to choose gun rather than fighting for their rights. Mbu Zakari, writing from Vikovi, Jakiri subdivision. Good evening to you. Good evening, Mr. Leo, and the entire panel. I think politics will be true in Cameroon the day we have 2, 3, or 4 political parties in Cameroon. Why can all these so-called opposition political parties not come under a single umbrella if they really want to change the country? I think everyone is just struggling for a means to eat. Golof, writing from Bamenda. Yes, Golof is also tying with what Prince Joel said earlier on, that they are using politics to position themselves. Yes, some persons, not everybody.
Not all.
Hi, greetings to you all. I'm called Lovely Boaz, enjoying your program live from Ginicom. Just want to greet you all throughout the country. God bless you. God bless you guys also watching us from Ginicom, Belo, and Fundong. Good evening, Mr. Leo. My dear, open up and tell them even when you register, the voters card will not come. Okay. Good evening, Mr. Liu. The truth is that this country has, the youth is the one to look for the future of this nation, but the bad and old leader could not give them the chance. Where are we going to? We can't really cheat nature truly. Mr. Philemon is writing from Yaoundé. Somebody is writing that the Facebook page is without sound, but I'm sure it has been fixed. Somebody also wrote to me now that it's been fixed. Good evening, Mr. Liu. The youth of Cameroon have been deceived by alcohol. Emmanuel is writing from Limbe. Good evening, Mr. Kum. Leo, the problem with the Cameroon politics are the system is fixed in favor of the party in power. The opposition party have failed Cameroonians because they too are frustrated by fighting within. Corruption has chopped the brains of Cameroonians. The power in place uses military to fight any person who there is try to cough, who dares, but my brothers at the panels and all Cameroonians, you'd let us rise up and take our destiny by force. If we keep on refusing from voting, then we will soon mortgage even the air in Cameroon, because it's like as of now, every Cameroonian, even the unborn one, is a debtor. John is writing from Douala. Good evening, Mr. Kum, enjoying the program. You are watching us from We Republic. Good evening, Mr. Liu. I am enjoying your program all the way from Ghana. Keep it up. From Kufo Gidira Ernest Akiko, writing from Ghana. Good evening to you. Good evening, Mr. Liu. That madam has just spoken the truth. She's good for the next president, because I can see her speaking just the truth. Camilla is writing from Douala. Greetings, Mr. Liu, and to everyone in the studio. I'm enjoying the program, most especially the way the lady is analyzing politics. I had great minds. There is still hope so far as there is God. As Moa Lenu is writing from Yaoundé. I am grateful with this program. The participation of youth in politics can only be realized if and only if they are given ways to take the leadership by their fathers. What I'm trying to say is that some Cameroonians lack the knowledge of critical thinking and future anticipation of the leaders, putting wrong people at wrong places and at the wrong time. Additionally, most Cameroonians do not love their country. Come to reflect on how many youths have migrated out of the country, and if listen to their stories, you will be ashamed of, because the system hasn't permitted them to exercise their skills. Diaspora youths have to be given also the chance. Franklin is writing from Yaoundé. Franklin, good evening to you. Pali Asanga, we are talking about youths in politicking. What should the youths do today? Do we need 300 youths in 300 parties to be able to make a difference? Isn't it?
Yes, thank you. On your panel, we have a lot of youths, and I heard somebody say that youths have some sacred agendas, and that some youths are put in the head of political parties for reasons that are best known to them. And when my younger man, my senior man, or younger brother, Fabrice Lena, was talking, he said Northern Zone and Southern Zone. Where is Northern Zone and Southern Zone?
Northern Zone, the north, far north, the whole northern area.
Paddy, can you just continue, please?
I'm saying this because when I come on panels like this, which is we are talking about serious issues, and I just heard them say that some youths have sacred agendas. And Fabrice Lena was talking about Northern Zone and Southern Zone. Where is that?
Paddy, I'll ask that I'll ask him after. Just make your point now.
Thank you. So we should be very careful if we think that we are youths and we have a clear-cut agenda. We understand that majority of Cameroonians want a federal system, but we cannot come with sacred agendas and point finger at other people. Let that one be clear for every youth. Now, we have a problem. We have diagnosed the problem, and we are refusing to look at the solutions to these problems because we say the system. We already know that no system will work for people who come and displace them. That one we should factor it in. No system, the system in place would never make it possible for you people to come and overthrow them because they benefit, they feed fat, they have their children in the system and don't want it to continue. We all know that one. That's another point. We talked of tribalism. Tribalism is not a bad thing. Tribalism is loving your tribe. What we are talking of is nepotism, putting people who are not competent because they come from your village at positions of responsibility. That one we should factor in. But if we go back now and blame the population, because I heard Akwen say that the population is also responsible. No, the population is not interested in politics because the population doesn't trust you. But the population would be interested if you make your program very, very interesting. So we should stop this idea of resignation, constantly looking for problems, saying that there are problems. And if we say, okay, there's a perpetual problem, the system is rigged, there is nothing we can do, then we just give up and stop saying what we are saying here. So we cannot blame the population. Those people who are political activists, militants of the of various political parties, should go down on the field and tell the populations why they are supposed they need to vote, why they need voters' cards. They should go to some place like Mbopi, where you have a big market there, and make sure that those syndicates of women who are buying and selling, they have a representative in that council, and who would speak to them and articulate their problem, Mr. Yo. So we cannot sit here and we are saying we are youth, we want change, and then we keep on doing the blame game. The time is not there for blame game right now. The time is on the field. And that's why I don't want to talk partisan politics on this platform. So, Leo, could you take your question again?
My question now is, how do we get these few daring youths to work together? Because we have them dispersed in the plethora of existing political parties. We have a few of them in PAP, some of them are in the UPC, others are in the SDF. But we are talking about an agenda to get a youth, or the youth to take over.
Yes, Leo, it's very, very possible. And I like what Fabrice Lena just said, and what Akwen said, and with what Chijo Done and some Anglophone youths, the daring youths are doing. They should come together in a symposium, and then we would give them the necessary material, the necessary tools to be able to follow up from where we want, from that point on to where we want to go to. We cannot work in dispersed ranks and expect the government to facilitate it for us. They will not do it. They will instead create satellite political parties, because the why is for us to have you, and then put those youths that they are pulling strings. And then you have the impression that you have youths at the helm of political parties or at mayors and councillors, whereas they are actually representing, they are actually proxies for the people who sponsored and put them there. We should come together, all these youths, vibrant youths like Fabrice Lena, Akwen, Chijo Done, and all the others that we know at the home front, come bring a conference, bring a symposium, create a workshop, and get people who have to educate them. You don't need, for that, you don't need to the authorization of the Cameroonian government. You call yourself youth. It's just like you get a bunch of students who say they want to go and rehearse in an amphitheater. If the government comes and arrests them, we'll know what to do. But we have to do that, and that element of fear should quit them.
Okay.
So I think I would have laid my case, and unless you have other questions.
Okay. Good evening, Mr. Leo. It's Bangkok writing from Bamenda. Even if all the opposition come, it will be of no use if they are to go up against the present regime and they see them. Thank you very much. Good evening, Mr. Leo. And the vibrant panelists in the studio who are really hitting the nail on the head. We are motivated by the truth from the contributions, especially from the lady and the professor. May God continue to bless you all, as well as the program to be a pace setter for a better society. I'm Ambe Emmanuel Asanji, writing from Bawum in Bafoot. That is the quarter gateway into Bafoot from mile 7. Good evening, Mr. Leo. Greetings to all the panelists. Politics in Cameroon is archaic and fixed tita. Henry, writing from Dibuncha. Good evening. The youths fail to see the importance of vote during registration. They only see it during voting. How then can they effectively vote to support the youth? Anthony is writing from Akko. Good evening, Mr. Leo. Is Nsah B. I love the program. Keep it up. Thank you very much, Nsah. Good evening, Mr. Kum. Can I know the... Okay. Good evening, sir. I like your program. Is Vende Nelson writing from Douala. Fabrice Lena, you certainly followed Paddy Asanga, who says it's time for you guys to bond together and map out strategy for the future. 2025 is not far from now. We should not be surprised you said that earlier on. But before then, he wanted you to clarify something that you said earlier on, citing regions, tribes, and a host of others. You talked about the northern and southern zone. He wanted you to clarify him on that. Fabrice, are you still there? It appears Fabrice Lena is gone. Professor Mark Anthony, I will turn to you. What should these vibrant young politicians be doing henceforth? 2025, we are 2022. Before we know it, we are in 2020. Yes.
Mr. Leo, I earlier said here that what the population out there needs right now is education. which implies that if these youths are supposed to prepare for that future that we are expecting and to be able to do what is expected of them, it is time for a merger. It is time for them to unite. It is time for them to come under one umbrella and forget the party lines. But what should they do? They need to start going down to the field and educating Cameroonians concerning what they have as a plan. Because I will be sincere in saying this. A lot of people want to know what you can give. That is what they should be able to put on the ground. What can you give? It's not all about joining politics. It's not all about being active and talking. It's all about you being practical. What can you present, give to the people? Because they want to see what you can give to them. That is different from what is really in existence. Are you having something you have as a plan? But they need to be educated. And not only being educated, they need to get down and tell the people why they should go get a voter's card. Why they should put their name in that voters register. Because without that, we will make this noise and make this noise, and then in 2025, we will have few individuals still going to vote. Nadia invoked the situation of the youth that came out. I saw thousands of young people who came out during the meeting, the rallies of not even Kabrali B, the other of MRC, Kamto. I saw crowds of young people, but the question is, were they registered? No, they were not. The same in Kabrali B.
They were registered,
but
their votes taken into account.
We do not look at it. If those number of persons were voted that I saw around just in Yaoundé and in Douala, the voters register would have been beyond 2 million persons, beyond 3 million persons. But if you look at it, it proves that there were not many voters. So the education of the population is most vital if there is going to be a progressive movement tomorrow. And so I think that that should be one of their strategies. There should be seminars organized, like Paddy also said, symposiums organized. Then they should look for ways which they can communicate with themselves, even if they are in different parties. You see, one thing I will say is this: we cannot have one strategy and expect to win over time. The same strategy we used last year will not work this year. So if you have the same strategy you have been applying, forget it, you will not make it. And the whole idea of so many parties, over 300 and something parties, that is enough reason why Cameroonians will feel like you are joking. When we go for a competitive election where we have 2-3 parties coming in, there is hope that there can be change. So I think the whole idea of multiple parties and without any plan of action, we just so much desire for position and wealth, because when we talk, a lot of people only think of how they want to be president, and knowing very well that they will not be, but they want to get the money that they can get through it. And so the whole idea of politics in Cameroon is I would like to use the word is beletics, is for their bellies. And so I think it is time we should become objective and prepare the path towards change. And that preparation means that we must forego our various desires and egos and prepare something that can bring in Cameroonians, because Cameroonians will only follow what they think that can be working for them.
Fabrice,
work for their
Fabrice, Lena, are you there? Is Fabrice there? He says he's there, but I can't get him. Fabrice, can you come in, please?
Network.
Gone back.
The network seemingly is not working in our favor today. Nadia, what are you guys working behind the... What are you telling Cameroonians? that you are working in synergy with the guys, or you are positioning yourselves for? Are you running for presidency?
Well, Mr. Kum, you know, as I listen to all the panelists and Padia Sanga saying that the youth should find a common ground, it is very important. But I want the Cameroonian youths who are vibrant to put aside greed, because there is greed. Because when we say let the Cameroonian youth should come together and merge to, you know, to fight against the system, it is very good. But these youths are supposed to keep aside their greed, because when youths come together, this person will say, I want to lead, I want to be the leader. That is what happened even during the presidential elections, when Kamto and the other parties said, let us do a coalition, and there was a problem for bringing out a candidate, a unique candidate. That is the problem. And secondly, we all know that the system in place has made it in such a way that we cannot win even if we go for an election, even if all the Cameroonians go and register into the electoral list. But it is very important for us to go and register. Let there be a mass turnout during an election, and let us come out and denounce. I voted against you, but why have you guys still won? These are the things that youth are supposed to be doing. Like they said, like my co-panelist, Professor said, we should educate the youth, because Cameroon is predominated by the youths. 70%, meaning that everything happening is the youths. So we need to educate the youth on the importance of going to get your voters card. It is very important. Educate the youth on the need for them to go and secure their votes. So that at the end of the day, if the Lakers still do what they are doing always, we are going to come out and say there was a mass turnout. Because, Mr. Cook, when you're absent, that's it, la politique de la chaise vide ne gagne pas. Meaning, when you refuse to go for a vote, saying that even if I go and vote, the regime in place will still win, you have already defeated yourself. Let the Cameroonian youth turn out massively. They should go and register into the electoral list, cast their votes for their choices, and at the end of the day, let us come out and say, I came out, I voted for the UPC, for the presidential candidate Ba Akwenadi, and she didn't win. These are the things we want to hear. Rather than sitting behind and saying, oh, I will not vote, I will not get this, I will not get this. At the end of the day, they that are up there will still be doing what they are doing, and they will give us reasons. You didn't go and vote. You didn't go and register, and we have nothing to prove that. So it is very important for Cameroonian vibrant youths to come to a consensus, keep outside greed, tribalism. They should keep aside all these things and go out to the field. I still believe that politics is the mass. Once you have the mass behind you, even the regime in place will be scared of you. They will want to know you. They want to inquire about you.
Come and negotiate.
They want, even if they come, yes, it's very normal, they'll come to negotiate, but as a youth who has the population at heart, you are not supposed to abandon your population who is following you and behind you to go and meet those people there. So it is very important. Let the youths keep outside greed. They should keep outside tribalism. And together, we should go out and register massively so that there will be a mass turnout. And when the regime in place works together with Elekam to cajole or steal the vote, we are going to come out and say we voted.
Okay.
Because if there is a mass turnout, Mr. Kum, there will be something tangible for us to hold the regime and tell them you stole our votes. But when you don't go and vote, you didn't vote, you didn't go out. They that voted are the old people. They have they have the voters card, and they voted for us, because all they that are going to vote are people from the regime. But they that are supporting the opposition parties, they are not registered. It happened with Cabralibi, it happened with Kamto. But today the regime said, you guys are out there.
Are you saying Kamto's victory was not stolen?
Mr. Kum, I am not working at the Lekam, and besides, I am not from the CRM. But I respect the results that came out, Mr. Kum.
Okay. Yes, Fabrice, we're talking about what is Padis Asanga proposed, that there is need for you guys to work together, but he wanted you to clarify him on what the northern and southern zones signify.
All right. If I'm clear now, I will first of all start by saying I was talking about the geographical configuration of Cameroon, talking about northern region. I'm talking about extreme north, and Adamawa regions. And then I was referring to the south, constituting of central region, south region, and perhaps part of east region. That's what I meant. I did not talk of Northern Zone, Southern Zone, the Amazonia reference, please. That said, what I want to say again about the coming together, Mr. Leo, you know, Akwe knows, Joy knows that I came up with an initiative, Anglophone Youth Conversation Forum, in 2021, where we started at the level of us from a certain geographical zone of Cameroon with a particular crisis to first of all see how, irrespective of our different political parties, civil society organizations, as intellectuals and young people, we could see how to put aside our differences and come up with something. You know, to push through an agenda in a country, it must start from somewhere and from somebody. And that agenda is still there. We are still working on it. Meanwhile, I am always one of those young people that is open to all initiatives that is aimed or geared at bringing together people for a particular purpose. It is important that young people who are listening to this program, who are watching my Media Prime TV, and who have the opportunity to watch this particular topic, to understand that we all want the best for our country, perhaps in different ways. And no one is God without fault. Do not look much on the errors of the politicians, on the lapses of the political parties, on the difficulties that we are having, but the strength and the little effort that we are putting. That is why I keep on writing these articles, that step by step, gradually, if we keep on building and focusing on the building, focusing on the love, focusing on the solidarity, focusing on the networking, meeting with diplomatic missions, trying to see how we could connect to outside world, learn from others that are already into positions of power in Cameroon and out of Cameroon. Gradually, we will be changing the dynamics. I know that the intensity of political actions in 2020, 21 is not the same as 2022 in Cameroon. And we all are very confident that the narratives of things are changing. Yes, there are points in time that we might use the eye-opening, what they call rapport de force. If it comes to that level, we say no, we will defend our vote. But I bet you, if there are 10 million young people who went in to vote, and they know very sure they voted a certain presidential candidate, or at a certain local level, a certain municipal or legislative candidate, I tell you, when the number is large, the number dictates upon the powers being. But when the number is small, the powers have all the resources to control the small numbers and put things within their capacity. And that is why we all at this point in time is saying that when strategy A fails, which is the institutional means of solving this problem, we go to the institutional means, which is strategy B. While focusing on strategy B, we design strategy C. We keep on and on and on. Politics is a proactive field that we keep on inventing, daring, creating, doing things every day. Because I bet you guys, there is no fixed route to ascend power. If you watch the documentaries of 100 politicians, you will see 100 different ways, specificity, perhaps with the same written rules.
Okay, thank you. Yes, thank you, Joel.
We have to always
thank you very much, Joel. We have just 2 more minutes to go. I give those 2 minutes to you. What?
I want to say that the National Action Party is a typical example. The PAP is having 80% youthful leadership. And if any of the example of Justice Aya, who resigned and who said let young people take over, then
okay, thank you. Yes. What do you expect to you still maintain that you want to see how they will pull through their energy?
2025 is not far, Mr. Leo.
But what should they be doing? They should also go looking for.
No,
for
the first thing, I think that the first thing of Prof. Mark Anthony said something. The first thing is reinstating the consciousness into the youth. Many Cameroonians do not believe in politicians. The first thing is because they believe that at the end of the day, their vote doesn't count. I've had a situation, let me give you this small one, where the former mayor of Nsah, Jinkenda Simon, left the CPDM. and now joined another political party and went against the last ended elections in 2019 against the CPDM. But now, many persons almost took to the streets because they believed that they had voted somebody who gave them the all. But at the end of the day, the CPDM takes the day. In 2019, on 22 of September, a majority of those who came out under the CRM believing that they won the elections, we know where they are today. They are in New Bay prisons. Solomon Bayas is still in the New Bay prisons. The only reason he's at the New Bay prisons is because he believed that the president of his political party won. It goes to tell you, Mr. Leo, that a young man who sees that condition, you don't expect him to ever come out and say he wants to march. So I feel that the first thing that those young politicians, whom I keep appreciating, like the Nadias, and I pray that, like I said, today is the 18th day in the month of April 2022, that maybe sometime next year, I should not be saying that she's with the CPDM, which is very obvious for other parties. Because it's a truth, I know what I'm talking about. Jean-Jacques Ekindi was a candidate in the parliamentary elections. He came up and said, I am no longer of the opposition. I'm going back to the CPDM. He says that I had made a mistake to have even left the CPDM. Okay? It goes to tell you, it goes to tell you that, Mr. Leo, most of what is happening in Cameroon, I keep telling people, the CPDM has calculated its game so well that for you to knock out the CPDM, most what is going on in Cameroon is just to animate the gallery. Let it be that, okay, we won out of 300 and something parties. Okay? Because if they ask you today that maybe far from the CRM, the SDF, and say the PCRN of Cabral and say 3 other 4 parties, if they ask, maybe say a student who is even in the university studying political sciences, that he should name 30 parties in Cameroon, that student may not be able. But we have 300 and plus. That's the country we're living in. So I think that, Mr. Leo, it's time these political parties, first of all, go down to the streets and struggle to convince the common man, whom does not even see any reason why he should go and vote. Because we are talking about ballot, maybe elections card. They all have their cards, but the issue is a majority, even on the day of the vote, they tell you, go vote waiting. Okay, what do the vote change?
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Leo, and to you all in the studio. Honorable Cabral Libi, who once said that to end the crisis, the government should impose a state of emergency in the northwest and southwest regions, and to virtually, Meanwhile, that is what you're writing, where politics in Cameroon has its own kind of definition, which translates a situation of divide and rule. Thanks. Elvis is writing from Dubai. Elvis, your comment is not actually related to what we are discussing. Good evening, Mr. Liu. There wasn't electricity in Buddha, just coming now. I have also joined the bandwagon now. Good evening. Tafa Simon is writing from Buddha, the same situation in Kumba Daisy, writing there that light is an issue. In as much as the electoral system is not reformed, the idea of youth taking the front line is not possible, so we should try to press for electoral system to reform. Tenor Lawrence is writing there. Good evening, sir. I'm enjoying your program from the Northwest region, Bafoot precisely. My blame goes to the political parties in this country. Had it been those political parties were able to work hand in hand in order to denounce those laws made in favor of the party in power, things would have gone better by now. Okay. Good evening, Mr. Leo. Pascal writing from Boya, the CPDM is comfortable with this idea of having so many parties. This is what makes them win all the time. Politics is a very dirty game. The key here is, the lady is saying, is to convince the youth to get involved. Time will come when the youth will unite and decide which candidate to support depending on the content of their program. Okay? Mr. Liu, to be honest, this old self-interest leader should give chance to the youth. There are many youth ready for this country, a country without freedom of speech. Mr. Fieldman, writing from there. Good evening, Mr. Liu. Youths can actually take over, but the challenge is a change of their mindset. Nobody will ever help the youth change their station, and they will remain in perpetual bondage if they continue to think the system is bad, so person can't do this or that, yet they stay in one position. Anytime Cameroonian youth get to the realization that they are the force behind the people they tag as obstacles to their taking over and start change their greedy attitude and start thinking positively and comparatively, then change is very near. Mr. Liu, behind every successful and influential old politician in Cameroon is a group of youths. We have seen youths emerge in other countries, yet we as youths in Cameroon champion hailing others, yet we fear to venture and blame a system we actually defend and play the backbone role ignorantly. The day Cameroonians, especially youth, start believing in their own and in themselves, then change will be inevitable. Mr. Liu, can you imagine that youths take it as a pride not to vote? They don't even care about what is happening with elections, yet blame the people who use their ignorance and abstinence from them. One major weapon to again the button is the massive participation of youths in every election. Vote youths as heads in every level, even at the party level, and be very aggressive to seize these positions during elections and move on in the like. Then it shall be where Tiku Felix is writing from Boya, and we end with him. Padi Asanga, thank you for coming today.
Thank your whole panelists. You should also understand there's the Union for Change. Some young parliamentarians who wants to get themselves politically active should get close to these parliamentarians and forge the way forward. There is something in the making. There is a plan B, there is a plan C, and there is a plan D. They must have the will rather than sit and complaining and perpetual. It's not going to take us anywhere because some of us might not be able to participate in elections in Cameroon because we are not Cameroon, but we love that country and we are ready to support and encourage young boys, young men, women who are ready to take the bat to make sure that diaspora also has a say, because expecting it from this Jacobin hyper-centralized regime in their own work. Thank you.
Okay, we also want to say thank you to you, Fabrice Lena, for participating today.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Liu. I want to say that it was a wonderful program. Enjoyed every bit of it, and to say greetings to Ibom, greetings to Prince Will, greetings to Diodone, greetings to Bless, greetings to Akwe, greetings to all young people, Bane Elvis, greetings to SPA Jede. Thank you, Mr. Liu, for always giving us the floor. The Popular Action Party is there for the people first. 2025, let's see how it goes.
Thank you to you too, Akwen, for coming.
Thank you, platform today. I just want to answer to you.
I didn't ask a question.
No, it's not a question, but I want to respond because you said you don't want to see Akwen in the next years to come joining the CPDM.
Okay.
Like I was saying, wait, Mr. My dear co-panelist.
We are out of time.
A politician, Mr. Kum, is
just,
I'm just trying to clear out the air because it is very important. You know, Mr. Kum, as a politician, you have a vision. And Akwen's vision is a common interest for Cameroonians. So anything that is not in accord that will bring forth Cameroonians to a level of development, I can never be aligned. So you should get that. Akwen is for Cameroonians and will always fight for Cameroonians. Thank you, Mr. Kum, and I'm calling all the youths from the north, from the south, from the east, from the west, to rally behind youths, to abolish that ability of greed, to brave all odds, and besides, Mr. Kum, to be able to go out and register into the electoral list, because when you register, Mr. Kum, we are going to turn out massively.
Professor, thank you for coming, please.
Thank you, Mr. Leo. I want to say good evening to my family members watching at me, my aunt Doris, who is presently watching at me, Bamenda, and the husband, and to every one of you.
Okay, thank you too for coming, please.
It's a privilege being once more on board, Ms. Aliu. I did enjoy every bit of it. I like youths like Nadia, I like Fabrice. I enjoy their energy.
Okay.
But like I said, 2025 is not far. Let us see whether Prince said the truth or Prince said the contrary. A special good evening to the peace-loving people of Misaje subdivision and to all the Fumas family.
Okay, we want to thank you all who took time off to watch this edition of the program. Stay blessed. Bye-bye.